What's up, everybody? If you hadn't seen the title already, today we're going to be talking about the Mr. Beast situation and my thoughts on it. And basically just where I think everything sits right now and where it may go in the future. And before we get into it, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like my content. It really helps the channel grow. We're seeing a little bit of growth, so I'm liking it. So please make sure you smash that like, comment, or subscribe button if you really mess with the content. But other than that, let's get into the meat of it. First things first, there's the DogPack video that came out a couple days ago. Got like 7 million, 8 million views now. And watching that video at first was really weird because he's like in the grass and like has all these weird camera angles and doing all this weird stuff. And I don't want to discredit this guy before we like get the full, story from Mr. Beast or whoever, but it just comes off really weird. It comes off kind of like you're, not all the way together. And I think that's going to end up hurting his case more than it helps it. Because at the end of the day, he really doesn't benefit from doing this besides just being the guy who outed Mr. Beast. Kind of like the guy who outed Sketch, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Like, you outed this big guy. What comes out of this? Like, he's already kind of down from the Ava Chris Tyson thing, and now you're kicking him when he's down. And with that being said, like, a lot of the claims he made were actually really good and solid claims. As far as, the evidence that he was able to bring up and the different elements of authenticity of the videos, right? Where the evidence was mostly there. Mostly. But other things that he harped on a lot about, which was just like the idea of him faking it in general. I don't know if that's a big enough argument to, call him this like horrible person or call him this like terrible person. Because in the grand scheme of things, like faking something like that to an audience of kids is pretty common, I would say. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know, like that old cartoon Dragon Tales that was on PBS Kids, right? Like, what if somebody like came out and was like, wait a minute, there aren't actually dragons who, are in this fantasy world and like helping each other out? Like, what? You lied to us? Like, it's like, okay. It's like, okay, sure, right? Like, he lied to a bunch of kids, mostly kids, because that's his subscriber base. It's mostly young kids because he's doing a lot of wacky stuff. He's flashing a lot of money, a whole lot of colors. His whole caricature is very cartoony in a sense. And so it's almost, I don't know, it's hard to say like, okay, you're terrible based on that. Because at the end of the day, like, these kids don't care, right? Even though his like average, YouTuber subscriber range may say 18 to 24, they're probably like 10 and 12 years old, right? And like, they'll be 16, 17, 18 in a couple of years, and they'll probably have stopped watching Mr. Beast by then. And it's not this huge deal that he was like faking stuff or doing things, because at the end of the day, like, it's just to entertain them, and they're kids. They're not going to take it to heart. But the things that he did mention, such as like the fake lottery stuff and the fake, giveaways, all that kind of stuff, that stuff kind of sucks, especially if you're a kid and you look up to this person and you really think that by supporting them, there's a chance that you're actually going to win this thing or get to meet them or do something like that, and you don't actually do that thing. That's kind of messed up. That would be like LeBron James, saying, oh, if you guys like follow my account, I'm going to pick a lucky fan to, come sit courtside at a Lakers game with me. And then he just gets some random kid who's like his, nephew or something. And he's like, okay, well, here you go, nephew. You won the thing. But he pretends he's not his nephew just for the sake of doing the whole thing. And that kind of stuff is bad. That kind of stuff is bad. But in saying that, I think it's also important to understand that his content was pretty obviously meant for kids and largely dramatized, meaning that a lot of it probably was, you could have probably have said this years earlier, that a lot of his stuff was definitely at least a little fake or heavily scripted, just like reality TV. Like, it's not like this was like some huge secret. So yeah, I mean, it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, right, like half of these reality shows, like Hot Housewives of Atlanta and all that other garbage stuff like that, it's all the same stuff. Like, it's scripted and all these fake, confrontations and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's pure BS. Like, none of it's real. But people watch it because it's entertaining. And to like demonize somebody for that, I don't know. I don't think it's right to kind of like come out in interviews and come out in, different media outlets and say that, oh, no, everything is 100% real, everything's 100% me and authentic, and every single time I've given out something, it hasn't been an employee, it hasn't been a real subscriber. That's bad. That is bad. He should probably face some music for that, because that's just like really wrong to do to your audience. Like, these are the people who essentially have put you where you are, so they deserve the respect of you at least telling them the truth, right? So I think that's a really heavy element into it, is why he just can't do stuff like that. And going off that, it's almost like, why even do it in the first place? But then again, it just comes back to him knowing his audience. He's got a bunch of kids who want to be entertained, who want to laugh, who want to see crazy, zany stuff. So he's going to spend top dollar to make sure that it is as crazy and as wacky and as cool as possible. And like, can I fault the man for knowing his audience? No, but I can fault him for, doing things that in most other networks, not including YouTube, would be illegal if you were, a channel or a any type of media network that was doing things like that, and it ever came off that way, or came out to be, fraudulent, he'd be going to jail, or at least, fired. But since he's an independent content creator on a site that has guidelines that seem to punish you for some things and other things, but really doesn't punish you if the algorithm likes you, it's kind of a gray area. And so he wins in that regard. But that comes to my second point, that this is just like a horrible, horrible time for all this to be going on, especially with the whole Ava Chris Tyson situation. I mean, the issue is she's talking to children inappropriately. And from a lot of the videos I've seen and a lot of the documents and stuff that have come out, it seems like MrBeast knew about this already and was trying to damage control it. I'm not going to go on record and saying that I know for a fact he was doing this and da-da-da-da. Because like, at the end of the day, right, like, anybody who has a business, like, you can't control every person who is involved. You don't know what they're doing in their time outside of the whole thing. Like, you could do your absolute best to, maybe monitor them to some degree, but then it's like a really uncomfortable work environment if everybody's phones have to be constantly, watched, and you gotta, do all this kind of weird NSA type stuff. Like, at the end of the day, like, you should be able to trust the people that are working for you. That's why you employ them, especially if they're your friend. They should know anything they do is an extension of you. And so, like, that's one of those things where, like, he's probably not going to get over that for a while. But at the same time, he is so massive as far as his YouTube presence. I do not see a world where a kid is watching all of these drama pieces and watching all of these videos about the situation and not just watching the next video. Because kids don't care about the authenticity of a YouTube video. They care about whether it's funny, whether they laugh, whether it's entertaining, where they see something blow up, where they see somebody fall, all that kind of slapstick, wacky kind of stuff. That's what they're there for. They're not there for Mr. Beast to be the, the end all be all, the dawn of time and all this kind of stuff. Like, they're not there for him to be this esoteric person. They're there to laugh and have fun. And so while all this stuff is going on, I don't really think it impacts his presence, more so his brand. And that will ultimately come up to the people who are sponsoring him, the people who are wanting to, invest in the brand that is Mr. Beast now. Certainly any charity he's done, fake or real, right, isn't going to be pulled, because obviously if it's fake, then no one's going to, there's not going to be like, oh, like a bunch of people, are going to come out of here and say, oh, well, Mr. Beast gave us water, so now we got to give the water back. Like, if it's fake, then it didn't happen anyway, and these people already had water or whatever. But if it's real, and he's like, oh, he actually did cure these blind people, I don't think they're going to say, oh, man, you cured my blindness, or whatever that last video was about. And he's like, and the people are like, oh, okay, well, I want you to take my eyesight back because you faked some videos. Like, yeah, it's one of those things where he's so massive that I don't want to say he's untouchable, but his brand is not one of authenticity to begin with, really. To entertain people, you kind of have to manipulate them, kind of have to, do things that are going to get them to keep watching your stuff. And that's what he was doing. He was really kind of doing the nature of the business and living within that. So I don't really see the huge issue with that, but I do see where it's like, these are kids, man. Like, you're kind of messing with their money and their minds, especially their parents' money if they're buying T-shirts that you're not really signing, and they're buying, merch in the hopes of winning a giveaway, and you're really just farming the fact that these little kids are going to take their mom's credit card, swipe it for 5 shirts, and then there's never any winners announced for the giveaway. Like, just shitty stuff like that. Like, he'll probably be reprimanded for it to some degree by YouTube, but again, it's like, he's one of their heavy hitters. I doubt he'll get much more than a slap on the wrist. Even with the Ava Chris Tyson thing, as long as Mr. Beast himself was not engaging in this like activity of him talking to children in these crazy inappropriate ways, and I'll say this: the stuff was bad enough to where I didn't want to make a video on it, because I was just like, I don't even want to see that on my screen for longer than 20 minutes, because it's just kind of gross. Like, ma'am, grow up. You are a person of age. You can, go in your community and meet people that your age. Like, why are you interacting with minors like that? Especially when you're an influential person. Like, just be serious. Be fucking serious. Another point I want to touch on was the cease and desist that recently came out on DogPack and any other creators, who might be posting content that would be seen as defamation of character, or, libel and slander, as they say in the legal world. I don't think that was a good move. I think all it does is it perpetuates all of the things that you don't want people thinking. That you indeed knew about Ava Chris Tyson. You indeed knew about all of the things being faked, that were alleged to be faked. You had no problem with doing things the way you were doing them, and you want somebody else to just stop talking about it in the hopes that you will get a case and then eventually pretty much bleed them dry from legal fees. Because if you guys don't know, like, that's what happens. Like, 9 times out of 10 with these cases like this is where if somebody has enough money and they come up against you, they can literally just sue you and never win the case, but the legal fees can cost enough to where you will have to drop your case, drop your claims or whatever to the court of law. and they'll just bleed you dry. And so whether they actually did the thing or not won't matter if you can't afford to pay the legal fees, because lawyers are expensive. Like, they're in the business of making you look good, whether that's to lie or to tell the absolute truth in a convincing enough way that the jury says, okay, this person is either A, guilty of doing these things, or B, innocent of doing these things. And I will say, from a subjective standpoint, things do not look very good for Mr. DogPack. He's gotten 2 cease and desists, I think, from what the videos I've seen. And I mean, like, I'm not pocket watching this guy, but I highly doubt he could compete with Mr. Beast, who's doing like 100 million views per video. So if we just do the simple math on the revenue on that, not even counting sponsors, Jesus Christ, he would just bleed him dry. And sure, there are some like whistleblower clauses that may, protect him, but at the end of the day, it's like, if they even get an ounce of credibility to substantiate a good enough case, he would just bleed him dry in court, and then this whole thing would be kind of for nothing, especially with some of his more opinionated arguments that he tended to harp on a lot in that video, just like kind of this the morality of him, manipulating kids through the way he set up his YouTube channel and his appearance and how he goes about making his content. I feel like at that point you would probably have to shut down half of YouTube, because at the end of the day, most of the new copyright rules and regulations and stuff that YouTube has put in place, especially the latest YouTube guidelines in the last like couple years or so, have been solely to make the platform more accessible to children, because children are accessing the internet at a much larger rate than they used to. And that's probably just like more of like a parenting thing. Like, you guys have seen it, right? Like, you're in Chick-fil-A somewhere, and like this mom's like child is begging for their attention, and she's just like, here, whatever, here, Jimmy, here's your iPad or whatever. I'm just gonna slide you the iPad, and you can watch Ryan's World or whatever, creator, YouTube Kids, and just get out of my face, leave me alone. That's probably most of what that is, and they know that. So it's like, if we have an influx of kids on our platform, we have to, maintain this kind of clean image that most content is going to be, at least in trying to protect kids, because that's a liability for YouTube. So harping on that so much was kind of like, okay, you're shooting at somebody and you're kind of missing, because it's like everybody to some degree is doing it with the big wacky thumbnails and crazy, kind of like manipulative ways to get people to view videos and continue watching them. Like everybody's kind of doing that. So may not hold much weight, but the other stuff could. But it's also like, he's a channel that's mostly out to entertain children. He succeeded in that. He has succeeded in that. He's going to probably continue succeeding in that. I don't think he's going to retire. Watching the video, it seems like his intentions are good and are well thought out, but I'm not sure if he thought far enough into the future of what this thing actually is and what would actually come of this, or if he just saw the Ava Chris Tyson situation as a chance to, maybe bring this guy down, because, maybe his experience working for him was just so bad and he just wanted to get back at him as hard as he could. I don't know. For Mr. Beast, for my final point, I think the direction that Mr. Beast could go in with this would be to either completely own up to any and everything that's been said and promise to, revamp your content, revamp the channel. I feel like that's really the only thing that he could do right now that would alleviate it, because again, the cease and desist do not look good to the average person. Even if I'm like I'm not a lawyer, I'm not some PI or whatever. That's not my background. But people's perception matters, especially when your entire career is based off of getting people to look at you, right? That matters. So if we're going to say, oh, I'm just doing the cease and desist for legal reasons and to protect my brand as much as possible, okay, yeah, sure. Sure, you do that. That's fine. But to the public eye that pays you, that is the reason you exist, minus your own drive to be a YouTuber, that public perception that you are doing this cease and desist because some of those things he said are maybe true. That is what it looks like. That you're doing that because some of those things he said may be true. And I doubt MrBeast overwatched this. But if I was him, I would probably pull the cease and desist. I would come out with a video. Hell, Jake Paul or Logan Paul, whichever one of them, did the whole the whole video live stream of the dead body in the forest. That's way worse than this whole thing. And he came out with a crappy apology video, and look at him now. He's still on the platform. And the same thing's gonna happen for MrBeast. So it's like, unless it comes out that MrBeast is for whatever reason a pedophile. I really, really, really hope not. But with the current trend of things, it seems like anybody who scratches $1 million ends up liking kids. I don't know what to tell you. I would really, 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 really hope that's not the case. That would just be kind of disgusting and sad. I don't want to even think about that. But yeah, if I was him, I would not. I would pull those cease and desists. I would address it in the age-old kind of YouTube apology, promise to be more transparent. Hell, I'd probably do a real giveaway, special subathon, whatever you want to call it, and just let bygones be bygones at this point. I would not try to drag this out and essentially try to mafia boss this DogPack guy. I think that just makes you look really bad, because even though most of your audience is kids, your peers are going to know what's going on. When those kids get older or they start to understand what's going on, you're going to eventually see some audience taper off. Or hell, if their parents are monitoring what they're watching and they are aware of what's going on, they're probably not going to be too keen on their kids watching your content. And so, not that it would kill your career, your channel, because you've made millions and millions of dollars. It's not, no way it would kill anything, but just keeping that in mind, you should probably move in a way that makes you look the best. Even if those things that he said are true in the video, it's just best to move in a way that does not make you look worse. Everybody knows the age-old truth that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I can only imagine what some other people would do with the money that these guys make. And it's not that it makes you untouchable, and it really just makes you more of who you are. So yeah, I think with that being said, I'm going to call that the end of the video. Please let me know what your thoughts were in the comment section. Please like and subscribe if you like this content and would like to see more of this long form content. And yeah, that's been it. Mills out.